Tom Burke is chairman of E3G, Third Generation Environmentalism, and a former government advisor on climate change. And he was also heavily involved with getting the first ever security debate on climate change in 2007. Tom, very good evening. In some ways, it seems a little odd to talk about climate change in terms of security. When you heard what the Prime Minister said about that today, were you thinking, well, it's about time somebody said that, sort of 13, 14 years after I first mentioned it?
It's about time that the leaders got together, which they did today, to really pay attention to this dimension. We've focused a lot on the energy implications of climate change. We haven't focused, and that's really about how do we achieve climate policy success. But if climate policy failure is what David Attenborough was talking about, if we fail to keep the temperature below around about 2 degrees centigrade, or the increase in temperature below about 2 degrees centigrade, then really what we're threatening is food, energy and water security. And if you can't maintain food, energy and water security, you can't maintain internal stability in any country in the world. And that's what's at threat. And we have seen in some parts of the world, we can see some of those consequences already as extreme weather events drive people out of the places they live into other places, as they change the pattern with which water flows. All of these things are sort of adding up to a really difficult problem that will increase conflict if we don't solve it. Now,
the government purports to have a very good record on improving Britain's environmental credentials in terms of cutting carbon emissions, etc., compared to our comparable countries in Europe. How are we doing?
Well, we've done very well. We've managed to both grow our economy and reduce our carbon emissions, and to show that it's possible to do that. And giving a lead isn't so much about what you say, even on very distinguished platforms like the Security Council. Giving a lead is really about what you do, and we have done well on climate change. Now, we haven't done well enough, and not enough of the world is following the lead we've given. But I think we are entitled to say that and claim that we have provided some of the leadership. Of course, what you acquire when you acquire the reputation of a leader is you do have to keep it up. You have to keep going, and we need to do that. We've got a lot more to do.
I don't know if there's been any polling evidence on this, but do you detect that there is now much more of a willingness among the great British public to take this issue seriously, to take on board their own lifestyles and all the things that we each do to contribute to increasing global warming? I mean, I was talking to somebody a couple of hours ago on the news hour about this, and she was saying, well, of course, every time we buy a laptop, we increase global warming, which a lot of people think, well, that's just ridiculous. I mean, I'm not going to not buy a computer for that reason. Computers are necessary for all of our lives. But what are the things that you think people have recognised that they can do to make a difference? Well,
the first and most important thing that people can do is vote, because if we don't actually get governments to act together, then all the individual things that people can do, and there are lots of them, won't add up to something that keeps us safe. And so that's the first most important thing. Make sure that the people you vote for have got the message about how important this is to you. And the polling, and you mentioned the polling, Ian, the polling is very clear. The public actually want governments to act on this. Now, what can people do? All kinds of things. Again, directly, the thing that people should really focus on in their own homes is improving the insulation of their homes, cutting down on the amount of energy it takes to keep themselves warm and safe. And if we're doing that, then what we're doing is also lowering energy bills. I don't subscribe to the idea that the only way we can solve the climate change problem is by a lot of self-denial. I don't believe that, but I do believe that if governments give the lead, and people actually do the things that they can do in their own lives, like walk rather than drive your car around the corner, all these sort of little things, then the sum of all those little things can add up to something very big indeed.
You mentioned insulation. Well, the government has got a scheme called the Green Homes Grant, and that provides quite a lot of grants to people to insulate their homes properly. But apparently, the whole scheme is in complete disarray. The Chancellor's pulled out funds from it because of that. Why has this gone so wrong?
Because the government went about it in completely the wrong way, much like it went about track and trace, and much like it went about PPE acquisition. It simply chose the wrong method to do it, and the government was warned at the time that the way it was going about it wasn't going to allow all the contractors to get up to speed and train people to take advantage of the opportunities, and that the money wouldn't be picked up and taken away, so the government's now taking it back. Well, you do things like that, and you really do destroy all those actors in the economy, all those people who've got to provide the local services. You destroy their confidence. And that's what the government did on this. And the best thing the Chancellor could do right now is put that money back, actually, and let people have a chance to do the things they're very keen on doing themselves and get their bills done.
Tom, great to talk to you again. Thank you very much. That's Tom Burke, the chairman of E3G. We'll come to you.